Yo, it's me, it's the SCOTT, baby. I'm back with my review of the 2016 film, Blair Witch, directed by Adam Wingard. Doesn't say the actors' names on the back, so it's not. So, this came out... Oh, sorry, itchy. I'm itchy. Sweaty and stuff, and skin breaking out. So it had been rumored for a while that they were planning on making a third Blair Witch film. It was going to be found footage, and it was going to ignore the second film. And when I heard this, I'm like, why? I understand there are many people out there who hate the second film, but I felt a continuation of the story, if not with the same actors, but with a continuation of the story. You could do found footage. I mean, you could continue the story. Think about it. You can do found footage, but you can have it be a news crew. Or you can have it take place 20 years. Not 20 years at this point. 16 years after the events. Whenever this takes place, right? So, the summer of 1999. So, it's supposed to take about 1999. Okay, so... you have it take place, I don't know how many years later, 13, whatever, years later, and be like, oh, well, this crew's coming in, and they're going to try to investigate the murders of what happened, and if they're actually linked to the Blair Witch. And then, once and for all, you can prove that everything on the videotapes was bullshit, and manipulated by the Blair Witch, and that our heroes from the second film were innocent the whole time. That was my mindset. Keep in mind, this is before I had rewatched them again in preparation for this one. I still think that whatever's on there, the camera is bullshit, and that they didn't actually do any of the stuff. Because think about it. And I'm still talking about Blair Witch 2 in a video about Blair Witch 3. But, think about it. What if the Blair Witch was messing with their minds? And, it messed with their minds to make them think they murdered people. And then, it messed with their mind, it messed with the videotapes. It's messing with the cops' minds. Their mind, come on. Blair Witch can do a lot. Anyway, to move on from talking about Blair Witch 2, we'll talk about this Blair Witch. Now, when this was marketed, it was marketed as The Woods. A completely separate movie until Comic-Con when they revealed, ta-da! It's Blair Witch 3. It's Blair Witch, whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. And, yeah, I remember seeing the trailer for it. And then when I finally watched this, I'm like, hey, whatever happened to that movie, The Woods? Because I'm an idiot. And so I searched it. And it turns out... well, no, I searched the trailer for The Woods. And I found a trailer for The Woods. And as I was watching the trailer, I'm like, okay, this has to be a fan-made trailer. This is stuff from Blair Witch. Somebody put this together and made a fan-made trailer out of it. Where's the real trailer? Still, I'm an idiot. I started searching, looking at Wikipedia and stuff, and to find out that this movie was The Woods, and that I'm an idiot. And yeah, I always share my background, and the background here is that I'm a freaking idiot. So. Dry skin. So, especially when I'm sweating and stuff. It happens. So the story here, they decided that they're going to have a character who is Heather's younger brother, James. This takes place 20 years after the first film in 2014. which the first film took place in 1994, if you weren't aware. And James is a college-age student, probably 19. I think he said he wasn't even born yet when everything happened. So, you know, he must have been like a fetus or something. Who knows? But, yeah, and so he's been sent this videotape, or not a videotape, but a video over YouTube by someone, and he thinks it's his sister, Heather. Now, right from the start, the first time I watched this, I said that can't be Heather. If they make that Heather, this might be the worst of the Blair Witch movies. If they're doing this just to bring back Heather and say, oh, everything is fine. Because from the footage we see, it's not footage from the original film. All the footage from the original film was supposedly found a year after the events. So, we know it can't be original footage. That, and it's shot a lot better. So what footage is this? The first hint that it could be Heather is the fact that it's in freaking HD. Well, actually, it's supposed to be that same kind of videotape, but this movie was filmed in HD, so it's in HD, but it's supposed to be, you know, that same kind of handheld thing, which, you know, they show in the clip. So they go there and they meet with Lane and his girlfriend, who Lane claims that he found the tapes. The tape, the footage, whatever. Now, my question at the beginning of this was that the only footage on the tape? Was that little section? Because I seriously doubt it. You find a tape, how is there only one little section of something on a tape? I mean, why weren't they asking them about more footage? Like, hey, that can't be the only thing on a tape. Where's the rest of the footage? And as much as they claimed, oh, there wasn't any more, that's all I found. I mean, come on. They weren't asking where the rest of the footage was. There has to be more than just that little bit on the tape. If you took it from there and put it on YouTube, there has to be more to it. There can't just be that little bit on a tape. It's never that little bit on a tape when you find footage. There's more than one tape, and there's hours of footage, right? So there has to be more that they're not saying. So they go out to the woods, right? And so we have in our little crew here, let's say his name was his little James, who's supposedly a little younger brother of Heather. We have James, we have his friend, who's documentary filmmaker in this one, Lisa. We have James' lifelong friend, Peter, and his girlfriend, whose name I do not remember. We also have Lane and his girlfriend, who have gone out there with them. And so, of course, shit starts to happen, you know. And here, they play more on the supernatural powers of the Blair Witch. And according to the writer, they were playing on that the forest, the woods itself, is the Blair Witch. It has the power, and it finds people like Rustin Parr and Ellie Kedward, and it preys upon them, which I think is a great idea. Making it that this Blair Witch is a supernatural entity within the woods. That the woods themselves are the supernatural danger. That's a great idea. Very good idea. But the execution you have in this film, it feels like there was a subplot that they cut out halfway through filming, but didn't cut out what they filmed. There's a section where they're crossing an area the Peter's girlfriend has a piece of wood go through her foot. And during this, it shows that there's something moving in her foot. And I figured, first time watching this, she was going to be possessed by the Blair Witch. And that's the route they were going. But out of nowhere, it's dropped. She still has the, like, with the foot, but she's killed while trying to get the drone by something we don't see in the woods. Now, speaking of things we see or don't see, people have given the filmmakers flack and a downright hatred for supposedly showing the Blair Witch in the film, despite the fact that people were bitching about the first film not showing anything. But, according to the writers, once again, the Blair Witch is never shown. The creature in question is, in fact, one of the witch's subordinates or victims, whatever you want to call them. And this has led to some, including myself, believing that this is Heather. This creature is very stretched out, which is what Ellie Kedward herself happened to Ellie Kedward. Now, you could also say, with the way that the writers were describing this, that the witch itself is the woods. The woods is the Blair Witch, is the entity. And that this could be Ellie Kedward. So, you say, oh, but that's the Blair Witch. No, because according to them, the Blair Witch is the entity within the woods itself. Not a physical being, but a supernatural entity. And not Ellie Kedward herself. But mostly took the form of Ellie Kedward to trick Rustin Parr. You see what I mean? And thus the form they see is probably the stretched out, deformed Ellie Kedward, but she's not the Blair Witch. Or it could be Heather, or Josh, or Mike, or who knows. So like I said, we got some ridiculous ways to kill off people in this, which I think is the more I like kills, but they're when you do kills and found footage, sometimes you get some ridiculous kills. Peter is killed off when a tree falls on him, and then he just disappeared. His body's not found, he's just gone. Peter's girlfriend is killed by somebody pushing her off a tree with the drone camera. She's trying to get the drone camera, and somebody pushes her off the tree. Something pushes her off the tree. Lane's girlfriend is killed when one of I think it's actually Peter's girlfriend, or someone finds pieces of her hair. I think her name is Talia. Talia's hair in one of the stick figures. And to explain this, earlier, stick figures and rock formations were popping up, and it turns out it was Lane and Talia messing with them, and then real stuff starts to happen. And when they see her hair all twined up in the stick figure, she freaks out. It's like, this was you. And when it breaks the figure, it's like a voodoo doll, and it breaks Talia in half. That's probably the single best kill in this. But it's so quick. It's just like, oh my God, just so quick that you don't really get to see anything. This is rated R, and we don't get to see blood. Not really. They quickly pan over it, but not to any kind of satisfaction of gore. And then we get this twist that I'm still confused about to this day. Just never explicitly explained. So, there's a part where when they wake up, I think, and I want to talk about Josh and Heather. I want to call them Josh and Heather, but no. James and Lisa. Clearly there's some sort of relationship there, but they say at the beginning they're just friends. But she sneaks into his tent and sleeps in the tent with him the first night they're there. And then when all else is going down, they cuddle together in a tent. And they wake up and she sees that it's supposed to be morning, like 8 o'clock, and the sun still hasn't risen. And before this, they run into Talia and Lane is freaking out, saying, because once they find out that they're faking it, they kicked him out. In the middle of the fucking woods where they can't find their way out. They plainly told him they've never been that far in the woods before, but they just kick him out. And so when they show up again, looking more disheveled, they say they've been walking around for 5 days, and the sun hasn't come up once. And then Lane is runs off, and leaves Talia behind. And then she dies because of the stick figure. And so eventually this all leads to the house. Pouring down rain, they see the creature in the woods, and James claims to hear his sister from inside the house, which she cannot hear. Now this calls back to the first film where they heard Josh's voice in the house. And not going by my theory, this could be what led them in there, is supposedly Josh's voice. But it's not Josh's voice. It's not Heather's voice. They go in, they see, and I'm not referring to this too, but they see a little girl that could be Ellie Kedward. And if they're saying that's the Blair Witch, it's not. It takes the form of victims. Hence why Rustin Parr was fixing that machine in the second one, which I guess this disregards, but I'm just saying. And they separate. Lisa goes downstairs, James goes upstairs, and when Lisa goes downstairs, she gets attacked by Lane, who now has more poofy, disheveled hair and almost a full beard, and he's all dirty and messed up, and he shoves her into this hole and locks it and says, "You have to do what she says." And his camera, which is a camera just like the one with footage was found, it takes the same tapes that the footage was found. Keep going with this. It's the same kind of camera, which is why they freaked out on him earlier, thinking he faked it. And she tumbles down with the camera. And she's climbing, and this got me claustrophobic. I would not be able to do this. One, I'm too freaking fat. And two, she's squeezing through these tunnels, getting all dirty and goopy and nasty, and breaks out. And then Lane comes back and attacks her, and she stabs him in the neck, and he dies. Now, Lane, at some point during this trip around in the woods, he got entranced by the entity in the woods. The Blair Witch, as you would say. And now works for the Blair Witch entity. At this point, you have to do what she says. He's trying to tell her, like, if you do this, what she says, you can leave or whatever. So something like that. And he ends up dead. So that doesn't work. So she runs up the stairs trying to get to James. And this is now where we see that the footage, this is the big twist, but it's not utilized right. And I'll explain. This is where we're seeing now the footage from the beginning that was sent to James was actually Lisa, all muddied and dirty up, running up through the stairs and looking through the mirror. That's the footage. And I think it's a great twist, but they don't utilize it right as the characters never realize it. And I understand you may be thinking, oh, but if the characters realize it would be on the tape, right? Let's not forget that Blair Witch can mess with tape, right? Look at Blair Witch 2. I know it's non-canon in this film, but come on. Clearly, the Blair Witch can mess with videotape. I'm just saying. But she never catches this, and she never mentions anything to James after the fact. If they're only taking that little bit, like, oh my God, James, I saw something. The footage that was sent to us. It was me. It was me. Nothing's ever mentioned. The big part of a twist is not just to have the audience realize what's going on, but the people in the film need to realize what's going on as well, or it's not a very good twist. Now let's go over to Split. Alright, that was one that worked. Because of the fact that there was no other characters involved but Bruce Willis, and you see him and you think, when he says Mr. Glass, and you think, oh shit. That's what it was meant for. There's two other characters he talks to, but they're already aware of the character Mr. Glass. So that's the thing. The characters are aware. You see the twist. But a good twist with these characters, especially if they've seen the footage, would be for them to realize they've been tricked the whole time into going out there. But that does represent a loop. if it's their footage that leads them out there, there's then an endless loop that just keeps going over and over again. How does that... We see that she can control time, and there's a spot once they get up to the attic where it looks like lights coming through, and then it gets quickly doused. And some people said, oh, it's aliens. Oh, no, it's not aliens. I don't think it's aliens. I think that signifies that the sun was coming up, and it was snuffed by the Blair Witch. That's her. She's teasing them or something. And now, the ending... Why is it that I'm always focusing on the endings when I talk about these movies? You know, the first one, I like the ending, and because that's one of my favorite parts of that movie. And the second one, I don't like the ending because it's confusing as hell. This one, I hate the ending because it's so, it's one of those endings where we're saying, okay, how are we going to end it? Well, we're going to make them smart and say, I'll come back in a minute, and say, hey, I'm almost done anyway, and say, hey, we're going to make them smart, and they know they can't look at the Blair Witch, so they're going to use their camera screens and navigate their way out. And then someone came along and said, oh, but it's a found footage film, so no one can survive. Oh, okay, well, the Blair Witch fucked with them, and so they have to turn around. What? That contradicts what you just said, that they cannot look at the Blair Witch. But then it's going to end with them turning around to look at the Blair Witch. What? Why would they be smart? And just because they hear a voice. Like, we don't hear it. But, because at this point, our point of view is Lisa's point of view. So we don't hear anything. If she doesn't hear something, we don't hear something. So, James claims to hear his sister calling for him, despite the fact that she wouldn't know his name. He wasn't born yet. Duh! Why would she be calling your name? She wouldn't know your name. It's like Hellraiser 3 that I just reviewed, right? She wouldn't know your damn name. You weren't born yet. You were, as that fan says, you were a fetus. Come on. Think, man. Think. And then he's taken out. And then she's navigating away. She's being really smart. She sees like little things in the background, the creature, whatever. She's, oh God, oh God. And she's trying to get out. And then as soon as she hears James's voice, which is literally a clip taken from something he said not 5 minutes earlier before he went, where it's something he said to her. And it literally just taken from that, clipped, put in here. James? The movie ends. Why would you have your characters act like they're smart? Be like, oh, we can't look at them, so we do this. Only to then turn around and be absolutely stupid just because they hear a voice. Especially James. James gets the big fucking idiot award for this film. Because why would your sister be calling your name if you weren't born when she disappeared? I guarantee she, even if he was just in the belly, they had not discussed the name, let alone know what sex the baby was. So she would not know his name. So why would he? Oh, it frustrates me, especially really paying attention this time and being like, oh, so she disappeared before he was even born. Okay, and then I'm like, wait a minute, why does he think that she's calling for him? She wouldn't know his name. Oh, God, that makes no sense. In the end, I think I like Blair Witch 2 better than both of these. I'm going to give this a 6, because it's better than the original, but I like Blair Witch 2 better. It has better characters. They're somewhat stupid, but they're not. Even Jeff, she's the witch, man. Jeff could figure out, hey, she didn't know your name, man. How could she be knowing your name? You know, I'm just saying, don't be an idiot. Don't be a James. I'm just saying. What did I say? 6 out of 10 for me. What are your thoughts on Blair Witch? Tomorrow will be Pet Cemetery. Be doing the first one for the Flashback Friday reviews, and then the other two just because I want to do it. And then Saturday, I'm thinking about doing The Ring, because those movies, a friend of mine was talking about, he got the first two, and I was talking to him about them, and I'm like, you know what, I think I should do the reviews, maybe Saturday, maybe, because they're not 90s or 80s, so what they would be. Plus, I'm trying to get through with season 2 of Angel, so who knows. But, yeah, just, keep open mind what's coming. So, yeah, like, share, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.